Sitting with me is Daniel Polishchuk, where some of the news we have is a fellow of your elk has just decided that she is retired. Yes, from your elk.
From my rutting in the forest.
You're a couple elks. You and Lizzo have both retired. 2 elks. So Lizzo has decided that she's retiring from music.
I think she already unretired.
I know that she has already unretired. That's what I was about to say next. It was a quick retirement, and now I'm starting to feel like the world doesn't want me in it. She continues, I'm constantly up against lies being told about me for clout and views, being the butt of jokes every single time because of how I look, my character being picked apart by people who don't know me and dissecting my name. I didn't sign up for this shit. I quit. She has since rescinded that and does not quit. Now, I've already gone on record saying that as much as Lizzo is funny to make fun of sometimes, I actually kind of do like her personality. And when you see her in things, you could tell she's a little bit funny. Yeah. And she does seem kind of cool. However, my next point is, you see a lot of people like this that are kind of internet, or just famous in general. And they always, people are talking shit about them. And on paper, there is something to be said about like, yeah, maybe it gets too much and sometimes it's a little too mean. However, in this specific case, in a lot of specific cases, you aren't just an artist. You've decided to be a politics person.
Yeah, you hosted the fucking. You were with last week, literally, Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, and Joe Biden at $100,000 fucking fundraiser.
Right. So, and then on top of that, you basically, decided you were going to be the positivity people. I know you're just an artist and you're just, overweight. And then these people start saying you're a positivity. You lean into it. You start doing fucking articles about how like kids actually should be fat and stuff. It's like, well, once you're talking about politics, like people have really strong opinions on this. To be honest, if you are just an artist and everyone's making fun of you for being fat, everyone does feel a little bit like, come on, man. Like, what is she doing to you? You know what I mean?
That's true. Like with the Adele, like nobody was like really going hard on Adele for being fat.
No, everyone's a little bit like, it's funny for a day. And then I was kind of even saying that, like how I was even talk about like comedy in general. Like I think people that are good at it, I made this point that they're sort of like the stock traders are a little bit. You're looking for inefficiencies to exploit where people are like, this person's amazing. And you're like, they're not. Yeah. Or on the opposite of that, they're like, this person sucks. And you're like, what's so bad about these people? Like, it's not that bad. If it's the case, right? You're kind of looking for inefficiencies in common thought. So I think if Lizzo was just a singer and she was minding her business, doing her thing, and everyone was just kind of like, oh, she's so fat, it would be a little bit like, yeah, you're going to be that fat. You're going to give
and that's a little more.
But it would a little bit like, all right, like, you know what I mean? But that's not what's happening. You're doing nonstop publicity about how people should be fat. And it's like, yeah, and people don't like that. So you're entering like a blood sport, which is politics.
And you're like influential and, people are worried about their kids. And
you got everyone saying how amazing you are and how beautiful you are because you're fat. So it's like you got all of the stuff from the other way. And it's like, unfortunately, that stuff just comes with... you literally were like, let me get praise at the expense of all these people. And then all these people are making fun of me. It's like, that's kind of what happened. Like, you know what I mean?
I mean... That's the game. That's part of the game.
That you've decided you want to play.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's part of the game. So,
like, if you start going out there doing lunches with candidates and supporting people, it's like, well, you're telling people their reality's wrong. Yeah. And people don't like that. And then on top of that, you're kind of saying your weight's like, well, yeah, but your whole deal is how great it is that you're fat. So It's not really like this thing that was off limits. Like, you know what I mean?
She's being ridiculous.
If someone in real life is just a bit fat, you're kind of like, okay, But if they come in being like, I'm fat and it's amazing and everyone should be fat, it's like, I feel like now it's on the table.
Yeah, I mean, even when people weren't doing that, like Chris Christie was fucking getting it nonstop.
Everyone does get it.
Yeah, the Democrats were fucking going after Chris Christie for being a little...
You're telling people they're wrong about shit that they feel very strongly about, right? So to me, it's only natural that you did sign up for that. And it's not just you signed up for it by being famous. You signed up for it by like literally making that issue your central issue and then yelling to people about
And
it.
you're also not just like being a fat person existing. You're wearing like literally like G-strings and fishnet. Like,
You're right. How did I not even mention
all
that?
stuff too. You're like
It's the Sam Smith thing. It's like, I'm just existing. It's like,
no.
well, you're existing in a way.
Kevin James is just existing.
Kevin James is existing. You are not just
you
existing.
are not existing. You are throwing it in our faces.
So you kind of want your cake and eat it too, for the lack of a better word.
Bad analogy, but also good analogy. Yes. Yeah.
Like you'd like to be praised for how brave you are, you know, kind of parading around in a bikini. But at the same time, when some people are like, no, you don't like that. And it was like, you're not going to get both of them.
And some people are just have a good point where they go, that's not a good, thing to promote to people.
Yes. But then on a human level, I do get where it's like, she's like, listen, like I'm now, if she's like kind of backed away from that a little bit in her mind. And she was like, I just want to do my tour. I've gotten these people talking shit about me from that were on my tour. The people that, I mean, this happens to everyone. Like, there's no Brianna Wu. She was like the big Gamergate person.
Yeah,
and then Israel was her issue. And now her whole deal right now is just like the left's gone too far. You know what I mean? Which seems to like always happen at some point. She blocked DP, huh?
Many years ago.
Was she Jewish?
I don't know.
Wu seems Asian, but she
Wu's
looks white.
Asian.
Maybe she's half or something. Just came out looking pretty white.
Yeah, she doesn't look Asian. No, she was like running for like some political thing or something. I don't know.
But it kind of happens to all these people where like at some point they're like, some little controversy happens to you and you get thrown to the wolves by the people who are propping you up. And then a little bit, at some point you're kind of like, okay, you know what? Maybe I'll just go back to making music. And you're like, why won't people just, just let me make my music? And then you guys, at human level, if they were your friend, you'd be like, yeah, I mean, stop fucking bragging about how hot you look when you're fucking in a G-string.
Yeah,
and I bet you the stuff would go away.
That way, then the problem is you're like, there's lots of chicks who are fucking 900 pounds who think they look super hot in a G-string, but they're just not so famous that...
You know what it really is? And I think that all of this has it. I mean, people fucking talk shit about me and I've had, whatever, no shortage of haters or whatever.
Sure.
But you kind of have like this thing where you go, and to some degree, just by nature, you're trying to be like... maybe not everyone, but by nature, like almost this industry, you're kind of like being an attention whore, and it's like, well, then but you're like not liking the type of attention you got. You know what I mean?
You don't get to choose, unfortunately. That's just kind of the deal.
And you do almost choose in some ways, because you're like, you choose the like level of attention you get by how much you like demand attention, and you're like, every action has an equal and opposite reaction.
Yeah,
it's like if a comedian gets like really famous in a short period of time, it's almost a countdown to everyone hating them.
That's true. Yeah, that is a good point.
Like, you know what I mean?
But I mean, the actors who are like, oh, I didn't choose to, when they're like, people come up to the public and they're like dicks and they're like, I didn't choose this. And you're like, well, you did though.
You did though, and you wouldn't be a Broadway guy if you didn't. You wouldn't have moved to Hollywood and tried to audition for Hollywood movies. Like, you did choose it.
You did choose it. You just go, oh, I want to be a famous, but without being famous. You go, well, those two things.
The only ones I'll give it a little bit is athletes to some degree. You can actually be like, I kind of chose playing hockey.
Right.
I chose playing football because I grew up playing it and I was always the best. Like, I actually didn't get into playing football to be more famous. Like, that's actually, you kind of can say that there are certain things where it makes more
football,
sense.
But at some point.
But if you're acting, it's like, don't fucking look me in the eyes and said you don't want to be you didn't want to be famous and you're trying to be an actor.
Yeah, that's not a helmet sport.
Get the fuck out of here. Yeah.